podcast. I'm your host, Josh Appleman, founder and CEO of Appleman Capital. Today we are joined with Cherif Medawar. Cherif began his real estate journey in his 20s working for a billionaire. He now owns over $100 million in real estate and runs a successful fund, educating others on wealth creation and real estate syndication since 1999. Cherif, we appreciate you coming on the show today. If you could let the listeners know a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you said it. I started early, and thank God I was blessed to discover real estate.
Well, tell us the working for the billionaire. I think that's the biggest. It's got to be awesome to be able to work with someone that you want to aspire to be. So tell us how that came about and what that was like.
So I was working at a hotel. I was in my early 20s, and I was working at the Century Plaza Hotel in Los Angeles. My goal was to become a hotel general manager. And the Century Plaza Hotel was one of the best hotels in the country. It was 5 stars, 5 diamonds. And we had movie stars and all kind of wealthy people. And one day, Edmond Bessari, the billionaire, stopped me in the hotel lobby. And he said to me, listen, I've seen you work from 6 a.m. to 11, 12 midnight. What's going on here? I said, I don't know if you noticed, but I have a golden name tag that identified me as a potential general manager. They told me if I work hard for 10 years, I can make it up and become a GM. And he said, listen, are you crazy? This is not what you want. You want to be free. Why don't you come and work for me? And I said, to do what? He said, I have real estate around the world. I need somebody with your energy and enthusiasm to speak on my behalf and do what I tell them to do so I don't have to travel as much. I wasn't excited. I got scared. I said, I don't know anything about real estate. And he held me by the shoulder and he said, listen, you're at the right place at the right time. Just say yes. And the rest is history. I said yes, standing in the lobby of a hotel at literally around noon. And a couple of days later, I flew to New York to meet with him at the Trump Towers, actually. He had a couple floors. And from there, the rest is history. I worked for him. I managed resorts. I did acquisitions for him through the Caribbean and France and other places. And I was his right-hand man very quickly.
So his focus was hotel, hospitality, and a luxury hotel.
Yeah, and developments from ground up, especially big transactions like hotels and other commercial properties.
So he put you with the rest of his staff, learning how to underwrite, learning how to find deals, make sure it's a good deal, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, he wanted me to speak on his behalf. He would say, like, go to Martinique or in the French Caribbean and tell them this is this and tell this guy that. And so by doing these things, I started coming up with some creative ideas and suggesting transactions for him. And it was just become very successful. You know, in the beginning, when you do something, you're trying to do the motions, but you're not totally cognizant of what you're putting together. And as you define the words and understand the concepts and know the business model, all of a sudden you can become very creative. Yeah. And that's what happened. 8 years later, I told him, listen, Mr. Bessari, I think I learned a lot and I'd like to go on my own to make it happen. And he said, with my blessings, just go help 10 other people like I helped you. And that's how I started doing trainings. And but I did the training as after I invested on my own, made millions, and I started wanting to share with others.
So tell us about your first deal, how that came about, what that looked like, what it was, and what that experience was.
So the first deal was in Solana Beach, California. It's North County, San Diego area. And it was a duplex that I saw advertised in the Penny Saver. At the time, there was no, it was late 80s. There was no, internet. So I found it in the Penny Saver. And I got the deal for $300,000. I'm rounding the numbers, it was like $295. But I got the deal for $300,000. This young lady, it was a gift from her dad to her, but she was going to go to Europe. So she was quickly in a hurry to sell. And she told me, I know it's a good deal for you, but I don't want to pay commissions. I want to close quickly. I'm going to save on taxes. I'm going to do this. She was excited. So I got the duplex under contract. And at $300,000, I separated the units. I literally separated the water meter, gas meter, electric meter, created 2 separate deeds to the property, 2 separate ownerships, and sold them as townhouses and walked away with $156,000 profit, all in less than 4 months. I thought I had just the best formula ever, because what happened after that is I went to a big 172-unit apartment building in Mira Mesa, California, and put it under contract, and got the approval after really fighting with the city to go ahead and separate the units to sell them as condos. When I got the approval, I flipped that. I literally assigned the contract and walked away with over $1 million. So it was a very quick thing happening in the early, it was like 1990 by then. And then the Gulf War started in 91. So all the market went down and I had a lot of cash. So I was able to do transactions creatively, started creating notes, seller carry back. And then I realized, what am I doing wasting my time with residential stuff? I should go into commercial. And then the journey took off and I started training people and then I set up my own fund. So it's kind of the evolution of business.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and you've learned out there from others that are doing it on a big scale. So then your mind automatically sets, that's where the programming goes in.
Josh, you said it best. Actually, nobody put it that way, but you're so right. Once I saw the big game, it wasn't so scary or so unfathomable for me to do it. I knew I could reach for it and do it.
Yeah, and seeing it firsthand. I mean, once you buy your first 20 units, and then that you get over the fear, then that turns into 40, and then 100, and then so on and so forth. Have you done any hotels?
Yes, actually, I own a couple of hotels right now. We're doing 2 developments in Puerto Rico because there are a lot of tax incentives there.
What's your take on hotels versus multifamily?
I love hotels because it's the most flexible asset you could have. You can rent them nightly, you can do extended stay, you can create timeshare, you can sell vacation units, like you can sell the time. It's unbelievable. You can sell weeks. It's like, okay, I'll give you 6 weeks sold in the future, pay me X now. So, and then on top of it, you have places like Puerto Rico where they said to me, I bought 2 buildings. And they said, well, if you develop these as 30-room luxury hotel each, which is in Old San Juan, right where the cruise ships arrive, they said they'll give me 40% tax credit. That means on the purchase price and the rehab, which total will be like $10 million, they'll give me back $4 million. But the building will be worth like 15 million when I'm done. So imagine your cost is 6 million. So you spend 5 to buy, 5 to rehab. You have a 10 million building. They give you a tax certificate, 40%. They audit all the work and the expenses.
Why are they doing that? What's in it for them?
Because the government, the tourism division, saying there is such shortage of hotel rooms, it's crazy. Like when you compare Puerto Rico to Hawaii, the influx of tourism and all this, because it's part of the US, they have such a shortage of rooms. Like I have the largest inventory of Airbnb in Old San Juan. I own a lot of buildings there. I'm actually the largest owner of historic buildings in the area. And we are sold out constantly. Like we're running 90% occupancy in Airbnb, crazy rates, because there is a shortage of rooms. So they said, well, we need hotel rooms, so we give tax incentives for those who come in and develop hotels. But it's not for the faint of heart. Puerto Rico is not easy. But I know it. I've been there for quite a few years because of the tax incentives, etc.
Well, and you know the area, you know the laws, you know the restrictions. I mean, going in there without a guide, I think that would be a mistake. But you're there. I mean, that's
exactly.
Yeah.
And I've helped quite a few people get there because a lot of people get lost, like saying, okay, so what are the tax incentives? How do they work? How can I save money legally? How much time do I have to spend on the island? I mean, that's a whole other podcast, but the thing is, I have an in-house team. I have my in-house attorney. He's been with me 11 years. I have 2 CPAs working for me. We have 100 million in assets there, 33 commercial mixed-use buildings there.
Nice. Yeah, we bought this building in downtown Cincinnati, and then the top floor, the penthouse, is short-term Airbnb. It's got the rooftop, and then the third floor. And really, we wanted Airbnb to control the space and to use it if we wanted it. But at the same time, we built a business that didn't exist before, and now we're like, all right, well, the cash flow is a lot more intense than our multifamily holdings. So and then we're circling the wagons around 144 unit, what now is an extended stay, which they all have kitchens in them. So I'm like, we've got a hybrid approach of long-term and short-term stay. That's why I ask you about the hotels, because there's it's definitely a lot more operationally intense, a lot more people to manage.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's its different upsides as well.
But it's also all in one place. And if you buy an existing hotel versus conversions or development, when you buy an existing hotel, you're buying with the whole team. So you're immediately running. And and you don't have the issues you deal with apartment buildings where evictions take times and all this. I mean, literally, somebody gives me the wrong check, we can call the police and evict them and arrest them for fraud, etc. It's a very flexible asset. And the challenge with it is the banks don't like it. They don't like to loan against it. So that's the opportunity. So you come in and you set up a real estate fund or something like I have, and you work creatively with the sellers, you can do magic. It's just unbelievable what you can do.
So you've created a real estate fund, and investors can invest into it, invest alongside of you. You find distressed or underperforming assets that you can plug in new management or reallocate management, and then you get it to performing. Is that?
Yeah, yes, but I don't actually look for distressed assets. I actually buy from brokers at asking prices. But what I do is I specialize in single tenant retails with the fund. Single tenant retails, like a single tenant building, like Jack in the Box that's empty, or an old Starbucks that's sitting vacant. And what we do is we make the offer. Let's say they want, I don't know, 900,000. I say, okay, my offer is 700. Let's say we settle at 800,000. It's vacant. So I put it under contract. We automatically have like 45 to 60 days due diligence. What we do during the due diligence, we look for the national tenants. And I came up with a list of over 4,500 national tenants who I should contact, what they need, what size, who they want to be next to. And I just call them and I say, are you interested in this location? This is the traffic. These are the neighboring tenants. This is the layout. Here are the pictures. Here's a video. All I need is one tenant to call me back. When they call back, they can get all the info online today. And they say, okay, we want it. But they want it for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
So as soon as I have somebody like Jack in the Box, like we're doing a deal with Foxtail Coffee and so, these guys come with a corporate guarantee that guarantees the rent. They pay triple net. That means they pay the least net of tax, insurance, and maintenance. So let's say they pay me $8,300 a month. That's $100,000 a year. The property value goes times 16, whatever that rent is. So it goes to 1.6 million. So if I have it under contract at 700,000 and it goes to 1.6 million, that's an instant 900,000 increase in value. But I bought it from a broker at the market price. I just added value that is completely different than what you can do in other commercial, where it takes forever. This, I do it all before I buy, or I don't buy. If no tenant calls me back, we just withdraw from the contract.
Yeah. Are you all giving TI?
Yes, very good point. We give about from 50,000 to maximum I gave was 150,000 plus, like let's say 2 to 4 months free rent.
That's the only downside that we were looking at absolute triple net leases. We've got a couple of retail, but it's almost like you can either do a hard line and not get the lease, and they can invest their own capital into the build out, or you say, here's your allowance, you're also investing in our building, we get that. But that's the whole upfront cash out is the tough part to swallow.
Yes, Josh, but if you're gonna actually put 150K for the tenant, like I did a deal in Las Vegas with this Subway. We gave them 150,000. They were very adamant about it, and they wanted actually 4 months free rent. So we gave them before 4 months free rent, 150,000, but we said we're going to increase the rent by $1,500. Well, that $1,500 increase, the multiplier, because it's all in the multiplier, made the property worth a lot more than what I gave him. And I turn around and sell them because I have the tax reductions through Puerto Rico. So I have the best of all worlds. I have the knowledge, I have the capital, I have the tax reduction incentives. So the investors benefit with me in the fund, and we grow like that.
So your short-term gains in Puerto Rico, or what does that look like?
So, I mean, let's just face reality. I do deals in San Francisco, California. I used to pay around 50% tax when we flip properties because they're short-term. So I was like a dealer. But now with the headquarters being in Puerto Rico and everything is sourced from Puerto Rico, the headquarters of the fund, etc., even though the fund is a California fund, the headquarters, the management, everything. And so we have a whole team of legal people that set it up correctly. We're able to reduce the cost down to, let's say, total with everything around 16%. So you go from 50% to 16%. So all that saving of 34% on every million I put in my pocket, 340,000. What do I do with it? Invest more, buy more building in Puerto Rico, put bigger tenants, etc.
That's the whole. You have to have 2 cups to fill up. You have to have a cup to fill up of cash so that you can deploy it on long-term investments. you've got to have, it's cash intensive. You have to have it available or figure out how to get it.
Yes, very true. You have to have the cash. You have to have so you raise capital, you deploy capital, and you reduce your cost. And it's a constant triangle of challenges, It sounds a lot easier than I do, but what helped me is when I started my education company, which was 22 years ago, I just wanted to help people. I figured they're not going to find the shortcuts. They're not going to find the models that they can repeat and make money. And I figured if I can share that knowledge, it's better than just giving money to church or tithing in any way, So once I started giving this in 2009, when the market collapsed, a lot of my students, I was doing an event in San Mateo Marriott next to San Francisco Airport, and they raised their hand. And one guy said to me, "Can I just give you the money and you do the deals?" The market collapsed and there are a lot of good deals, but with my little money, I can't make a mistake. So I asked the audience, how many people would rather give me the money, jokingly? Well, almost all the audience raised their hands smiling at me. I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was so smart, like helping them train. A lot of them just want the returns. So that's how we set up the fund. And that's how the whole thing started growing faster and accelerated,
Are you all managing your own properties or do you do third party?
Well, I have a team in-house for everything.
Yeah.
We tried managing the Airbnb division with a third-party company, but doesn't make financial sense. You're much better off in-house with the proper incentives. The study of economics is a study of incentives. You give them the right incentives, they will kick butt and they will do magic for you.
Yeah, no, we do the same thing. It's just you have total control over the performance of the property, and
You're right.
It's incredible how different managers can either sink or float a boat, and it all boils down to expenses. You're either going to throw money at a problem, or you're going to take care of the problem and also take care of it with on the checkbook too. So, as far as renovations, internal management, leasing, just being integrated into having every category talking to each other every single morning, how the performance of the portfolio is doing is just a huge advantage over people that are relying on third party.
Yes.
Yes. It's good. Tell us about how that came about in your all's career as you're building your portfolio. How did it transpire? How did it grow into something bigger to where you knew you had to add on team members?
Once you start something, so the hardest thing is to start. And then the second hardest thing is to build that momentum. The third hardest thing is to stop. You can stop because all of a sudden what happens, you get known that you're doing these type of deals and all this. So I was doing in San Francisco luxury rehab and flipping them. It was very profitable. I was getting killed with taxes. So I had to find the best, most legal way to reduce taxes without going offshore. Because so many attorneys, set up offshore. I said, I don't want to go offshore. Off what shores? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Well, I found out that there are incentives in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico. When I went there, I realized in Old San Juan, you don't have to pay property taxes for these historic buildings, so long as you renovate them to their historic integrity. You don't have to pay property taxes, lower income on the rental, etc. if I take residence there. So needless to say, I studied the matter. I took residence in Puerto Rico. This is, we're talking 2003, 2004, right? 20 years ago. And then all of a sudden, I realized I bought the first building and I had 2 commercial spaces downstairs and a nice apartment/office upstairs. And I realized, wait a minute, this place is untapped. The cruise business is dropping, thousands of customers coming credit card in hand trying to shop. And there are no good tenants there. So I started applying my strategies in Old San Juan. And I bought one building, brought in Tommy Hilfiger, another building, brought in Sunglass Hut and Coach and Puma Corporation and Burberry. And I transformed the area. And of course, it's easier now. I talk about it 20 years later. But, taking buildings at $2 million and then bringing a big tenant, the building becomes worth $3 million. And you have upstairs the residential that you can also.
Oh, that's huge.
It was just mind-boggling. And actually, I still tell people till now, because I'm not buying anymore. I already have enough. And actually, I'm slowing down a lot. I'm just maintaining what I have and kind of growing the areas that have the beautiful incentives like the hotel developments. And we do also ground up developments in Florida. And how did it come about? It's through the people you meet. It really is 3 things. You got to get the knowledge. You got to take massive action to improve your skills. As you take action, you keep improving. And then you got a network. So I have the network through the students because I have attorneys, developers, and because I teach commercial, so it's kind of a higher level. So I meet people, and then I now help people set up their own funds. Like I give them a turnkey structure. A lot of people set up a syndication. I set up a fund. There's a big, big difference.
There is.
And I give it to them turnkey with how to raise capital. So with these people, we're able to do deals and grow a lot bigger, faster.
Yeah,
Much
we've done
easier.
one syndication too. I haven't done a fund, but we've done a syndication. It's just like you had said, you have to learn. You have to, once you acquire the knowledge and you actually apply it, that's where you truly learn, is applying the knowledge that you've taken in. If you don't apply it, then it's just lost knowledge forever. But you've got to, it's constantly leveling up. You acquire the knowledge, take action. Acquire the knowledge, take action. It's just and then like you had said, the more deals you have, the more people you need. The more people you have, the more deals you need. So it's an ever evolving.
Yes.
You got to keep the engine cranking on all cylinders and just keep on broadening the firm.
But as you grow, you got to take less and less risk and reduce your debt to almost nothing. So at the end, you end up with the cash flowing assets. So you look at it as the safety of the assets, the cash flow, the liquidity, the reserves. You with me? The diversification and the plan B, C, D in case you want to change. And that's the phase I'm in, is I'm just leveling. Not leveling up, but just leveling.
Do you acquire with partners and then get to a certain point where they've met their return, their negotiated return, you can refinance them out? Or
yes. So people that set up a syndication, in the structure of syndication, you're paying people from the equity. So you're giving them some cash flow and a percentage of the upside, sometimes 60, 70% of the upside gain when you sell the property. So you have to sell the property within 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
What I have suggested since 2009 is to set up a real estate fund where you set up only once. And the setup, you can put as many properties as you want in the fund. It's like a mutual fund. So a real estate fund is not an equity fund, but it's a debt fund. So I pay people, for example, 6 and 8% based on how much they invest. 25,000 minimum to 249,000, they get 6% per year. 250,000 plus, they get 8%. They can compound their money. In 10 years, they'll be making 12% annually. In 19 years, they'll be making like 20% annually. And I've had people, I mean, my funds were set up in 2009. Before even people didn't even know what a fund is or syndication, let alone know. So the difference with a debt fund is I don't have to sell the assets. So I am paying the investors a steady return every 6 months. Anytime they want to cash out is 12 months notice. And I usually cash them out in less than 6 months. Full capital with accrued interest. I charge no fees. So it's very attractive for retirees, for people that want steady income, for people that want good cash flow. And for me, I don't have to sell. So I set up people, these type of structures, so they can set up once, they save on attorney's fees. I have in-house attorneys set it up. We do it all like one package less than any attorney in the country, plus a full day training with me, not somebody else. I show them how to raise capital one-on-one, how to raise in group presentations. I give them the PowerPoint. I mean, we do it totally turnkey, and it has transformed so many people's lives. What I didn't count on is that they go find deals and then bring me in, and we do joint ventures. And that started growing like crazy. Yeah,
because your students are your deal finders now, because they're out there and then they need help taking the deal down and then managing after the acquisition. That's the whole. It's not a celebration when it closes. Then now it's time to work. It's a celebration when it either refinance or you sell. But I like it. No, it's different verticals.
And for those who don't want to set up a fund, I teach them to find the single tenant buildings that are vacant, put them under contract using my proof of fund, which is from my funds. And those are like novice, the people starting. I give them a full training to do a joint venture by assigning, like wholesaling commercial real estate to my fund. So they find the single tenant buildings. I give them the tenant list. I tell them the exact script they got to tell the tenants. I tell them how to take a video. And I actually adjust the email they're going to send to the tenants. And when one tenant calls them back, they email it to my office, and we set up a Zoom call and we talk to the tenants. Yeah. Like today, later on, we have a call set up at 11 o'clock that will be with a tenant that actually wants to get in. It's a coffee company. I don't want to say the name. But it's great. We have another deal closing, which, believe it or not, we put the property, the student of mine, his first deal, put the property under contract, called on different tenants. McDonald's called him back and said, we don't want to lease, we want to buy it. So we're flipping it to them. He's making 91,000. I'm going to do a success story with him when we close.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put it also on YouTube and so people could see.
Well, and that just goes to show the many different ways of succeeding in real estate. There's so many different ways of partnering and taking, and really you're solving problems along the way because the seller needed to sell or you're the buyer. Just so many different ways going about it. Very cool. I like the different nuggets. Just picking your brain and your experience throughout the years, just seeing different how you go about with different scenarios and situations.
Thanks, Josh.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you, reach out, learn more about you, possibly invest in your fund, be a student, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, easiest way is the website. I have it here right next to my name. It's cmrei.com, Cherif Medawar, realestateinvesting.com. And or they can email my VP, Ashley, ASHLEE, at cmrei.com. And we are easily reached, and we've been in the market forever. I have over 3,000 videos on YouTube, 1,000 videos of success stories from students through the years. So we've done well.
You guys are doing it right. Cherif, definitely appreciate your time today, and I look forward to following you. Thank you.